Sugar is one of the most widely used ingredients across the globe. It is needed in nearly every kitchen. It sweetens our coffee, makes our cakes irresistible, and sneaks its way into just about everything we eat. But have you ever wondered how that tiny sparkling crystal ends up in your sugar bowl? I mean, it doesn't just magically appear in the grocery store. Nope. It starts its journey as a towering stalk of sugarcane in some far-flung, sun-drenched field. So, buckle up. We're about to follow the fascinating and slightly sticky journey from field to factory. Planting and growing sugarcane. Let's start where all good sugar stories begin, in the fields. Sugarcane isn't your average crop. It doesn't grow from seeds like your basic backyard tomato plants. Oh no, sugarcane likes to keep things interesting. Farmers use stem cuttings known as sets, which sounds a lot more technical than it is. Basically, they chop up pieces of mature sugarcane stalks, and each piece contains a few buds. Imagine tiny growth points that will sprout new plants. These get planted in long, straight rows because sugarcane likes order, apparently. Now, here's where patience is key. Sugarcane is a slow grower. Over the course of 10 to 12 months, these sets grow into tall, leafy stalks that can reach up to 15 feet. That's like growing an NBA player in your backyard. But unlike an NBA star, sugarcane doesn't require protein shakes, just a lot of water. Farmers rely heavily on rainfall or irrigation systems to keep these thirsty giants happy. Growing sugarcane is not for the faint of heart. It's a crop that demands a lot of care, time, and management. Farmers not only have to ensure the plants are well watered, but they also have to fight off an army of pests and diseases that would love nothing more than to ruin the whole party. Think of it as the plant equivalent of fending off mosquitoes at a summer BBQ. Between battling bugs and making sure the soil stays rich in nutrients, sugarcane farmers have their hands full. But the good news? Sugarcane is a perennial crop, meaning once it's harvested, it can regrow for several cycles without the need for replanting. Sustainability, anyone? Harvesting sugarcane. After a year of growing, the sugarcane finally reaches full maturity. It's at its peak sugar content, which is kind of a big deal. This is the whole reason we're here, right? But here's the twist. Sugarcane doesn't stay sugary forever. Once it's cut, the clock starts ticking and the sugar content begins to drop faster than you can say, sweet tooth. This is why harvesting at the right time is very important. Now, depending on where the sugarcane is grown, the harvesting process can look a little different. In more traditional farming regions, think small fields, lots of history, harvesting is often done by hand. Yes, by hand. Imagine wielding a machete under the scorching sun, slicing through thick cane stalks with precision and speed. Sounds fun? Didn't think so. It's tough, labor-intensive work, and it's not without its risks. But for many farmers, it's the most practical method, and it's been done this way for generations. However, in more modern and large-scale operations, they've upgraded to mechanical harvesters. These machines are like the Swiss Army knives of the sugar world. They cut, collect, and even remove the leaves all in one go. Sure, they may lack the romantic flair of a machete-wielding farmer, but they get the job done fast. Speed is essential because, as I mentioned, once the cane is cut, you've got to get it to the processing plant pronto. Any delays, and the sugar content starts to plummet. Nobody wants that. Initial cleaning and crushing. So, the sugarcane has made it to the processing plant. Hooray! But before it can start its transformation into the sweet white crystals we know and love, it needs a bit of a bath. You wouldn't eat a carrot straight out of the dirt, right? Same goes for sugarcane. The stalks are washed to remove any dirt, leaves, and other lovely debris picked up during the harvesting process. After the sugarcane is cleaned and prepped, it's time for the real action. The cane is fed into giant crushing machines with rollers that press down on the stalks like a heavyweight wrestler. The goal here is simple: get every last drop of juice out of those fibrous stalks. The juice that flows out is, well, not exactly the sweet nectar you might be imagining. It's dark, cloudy, and filled with all sorts of impurities. But don't worry, we'll fix that soon enough. As for the leftover fibrous material, called bagasse, it doesn't just get tossed in the trash. Sugarcane is nothing if not resourceful. This bagasse is often used as biofuel to power the mill itself. Yup, the plant practically powers its own transformation. Talk about efficiency, clarification, and purification. Now, this raw sugarcane juice may have a lot of potential, but it's not exactly ready to sprinkle on your oatmeal. First, it needs to be purified. So, what's the first step in the juice's glow-up? Clarification. The juice is heated and mixed with lime, the mineral, not the fruit. This isn't cocktail hour yet. The lime helps to neutralize acids and causes impurities to form clumps, which then settle to the bottom like unwanted guests at a party. The clearer liquid on top? That's what we want. This clarified juice is drawn off, leaving behind all the gunky stuff. It's now looking much cleaner, but it's still not sugar. Think of this stage like a detox cleanse for the juice. It's getting rid of all the things that might spoil its final form: solids, dirt, and other non-sugary bits. This step is crucial because without it, the sugar we end up with would be cloudy and a little gritty. No one's trying to chew their sugar, thank you very much. At this point, the sugarcane juice is miles ahead of where it started, but the journey is far from over. It's purified, clarified, and free of most impurities, but it's still liquid, and we're aiming for that lovely granular sugar that brightens up our desserts and beverages. There are a few more critical stages before we get to that final, crystal clear product, but we're definitely getting closer. Evaporation. So we've got our clarified sugarcane juice, but as you know, it's still mostly water, and last time I checked, we're not after a watery sugar cocktail, are we? To solve this, the juice is sent to massive evaporation tanks. Imagine a giant kettle only, and instead of brewing tea, it's boiling down a sugary soup. The heat causes the water to evaporate, slowly turning the liquid into a thick, sticky syrup that's more sugar than water. At this point, the sugar content is concentrated, but it still doesn't quite resemble the sweet stuff you toss into your coffee. The syrup, which now has some serious sugar vibes, is finally ready for the next step. If sugarcane juice had a makeover montage, this would be the dramatic before and after scene. Crystallization. Crystallization, the moment we've all been waiting for. This is where things start to look a little more like actual sugar. The syrup is transferred into something called vacuum pans, where it undergoes its most important transformation. Vacuum pans are not any typical kitchen gadget, by the way. It's here in these pans that sugar truly becomes sugar. How does it happen? Science. Well, and a bit of wizardry if you ask me. The syrup is seeded with tiny sugar crystals, like sprinkling a handful of glitter into the syrup, except this glitter is about to grow. As the syrup cools, sugar molecules start forming around these seed crystals. Slowly but surely, the sugar crystallizes out of the syrup, leaving us with a chunky mix of crystals and molasses. Molasses, by the way, is that dark, sticky substance that gets left behind when sugar is formed. It's kind of like sugar's intense, dramatic cousin, which is rich and flavorful, but not quite the same. This is the point where liquid sugar starts to look like something you might actually recognize in your pantry. But we're not quite there yet. Oh no, there's more magic to come. Centrifugation. Now that we've got this sweet mix of sugar crystals and molasses, we need to separate them. This is where centrifugation comes in, which sounds super fancy, but is basically just a glorified version of what happens in your washing machine during the spin cycle. The mixture is loaded into a centrifuge. It is basically a device that spins it around at breakneck speed. The faster it spins, the more the heavier sugar crystals are forced to the sides while the molasses is pushed out. It's like separating the cool kids, which are sugar crystals, of course, from the rest of the crowd. Sadly, molasses. The sugar crystals are collected and dried, while the molasses is off to live its best life in jars or in the rum-making industry. Don't feel too bad for it, though. Molasses has plenty of fans, especially in baking and barbecue sauce. Not to mention it plays a pretty vital role in the whole process. Drying and refining. After their wild ride in the centrifuge, the sugar crystals still aren't quite ready for prime time. They're still raw sugar, which has a slightly golden color, thanks to a bit of molasses clinging to the crystals. Sure, raw sugar has its fans. It's got that rustic, earthy vibe that makes you feel like you're eating something straight from nature. But if you're after the bright white sugar that you see in most kitchens, the sugar needs one more makeover. At this stage, the raw sugar is dried to remove any leftover moisture, then refined for good measure. Refining sugar is a bit like giving it a spa day. First, the sugar is dissolved again in hot water, back to liquid form, filtered to remove any lingering impurities, and then recrystallized into sparkling white sugar. This refined sugar is what most people are familiar with. These are the pristine white granules that you sprinkle on your morning cereal or use to bake your favorite cake. It's undergone quite the transformation by this point, from a towering cane in a sun-soaked field to the refined sweetness we all know and love. Now what? Is this it? I don't think so. Packaging and shipping, the final destination. Now that the sugar is in its final form, it's time to get it out into the world. But sugar doesn't just get dumped into a big pile and shipped off. Absolutely no. It's treated with care. After all, it's been through a lot by now. The freshly refined sugar is funneled into various packages, from large sacks for industrial food producers to smaller bags and boxes for your local grocery store. You might even see it get packed into those little paper packets that always seem to mysteriously appear at the bottom of your kitchen drawers. Once packaged, it's off to the shipping docks and on its way to various parts of the world, from the fields to factories and finally onto store shelves. Sugar's journey is a global one. It travels from tropical climates to places where people don't even know what tropical feels like. Looking at you, Canada. Whether it's going to be sprinkled on a donut, baked into a cookie, or dissolved in your afternoon tea, sugar has earned its place on your table. So, there you have it. A humble stalk of sugarcane transformed into the sweet, granular substance we rely on every day. It's been chopped, crushed, spun, evaporated, crystallized, and refined. It's had more wardrobe changes than a pop star on tour, and all for one purpose: to make life a little sweeter. Next time you pour a spoonful into your coffee or sprinkle it on top of a muffin, you'll know that sugar's journey was anything but simple. It may come in a neat little package, but behind that sweetness lies a world of fascinating science, human effort, and maybe just a hint of magic. Isn't it sweet to know? If you enjoyed learning about this process, and maybe even got a new appreciation for your sugar bowl, don't forget to like this video, comment below with your favorite sugar-packed treat, and hit subscribe for more fascinating food journeys. And hey, if you want to stay up to date on all the sweet content coming your way, don't forget to ring that bell icon so you never miss a thing. Thanks for watching.